we're here as a to learn more about things. And as Nick kind of alluded to before, we didn't have a PowerPoint presentation. And the sole reason we didn't have a PowerPoint presentation was because we didn't want to lead the conversation. So for us to do the job that we want to be able to do, the information that you gave us today is very, very important for us to get started. The thing that we'll have to do now, I guess, is to back to all the organizations that we're here and get some more detailed information to what you have or what what you're looking for. Go back to our suppliers and say, okay, here's the starting point with it. It's this process is not going to have a benefit plan for you on Friday morning or a pension plan for you on Friday morning. It's a fairly long process because it does take time to analyze things and so on and so forth. So I guess today it's for us to gather as much as we can from everybody, and we've got a good start with what we have. One of the things that you look at in pensions and so on is that we come together to select your pool in, so everybody's the same management fees down. Whether you play pension plan or whether you're a 3 to 5 life pension plan, and whether it's a defined benefit pension plan or defined contribution pension plan, or whether it's a group RRSP. Fees can all be brought down by bringing volume together. So fees down by 0.75% or 1%, that's going right back into your employee's pocket. So it's it's enhancing their benefits even further. So those are the kind of things we're trying to gather the information for. So after we leave here, people that have pensions or do have benefit plans, back if there's some detailed information that you have, not I'm not asking for information right now, but just details around what you have, all you currently give to the various companies. We've been in this business for quite a while. Various companies, Blue Cross, as you mentioned, was one of yours. As we sit here today, as this group, there's also another group from the Valley that, well. So our volume currently, with the volumes that we bring together from the sector council members and so on. So we have a very good starting pool as we're sitting here today already to get going. Benefits volume does matter in the benefit side of it well, but as long as we can get it together, it's kind of getting everybody's claims experience time look over a big picture. Yeah. And if we can look at it as 5,000 people insured, those are the things we want to bring to the product, those volumes. And so doesn't mean that anybody has to change their benefit plans to everybody has the same benefit plan. You can build your benefit plan what you want to, but it's the volume that goes into it. So lots of opportunities here for us, I think, for really doing so.
That's I think the vision. It's odd that Rod and I were kind of working on similar ideas, and then we got to know each other just from being in the sector. And, all of a sudden we're sitting here going, what if we can put something like this together? A few months later, Arlene mentioned something else about something that is going from west here. It's like we think we can do this, and it really create what we need to do, and what we were really excited to do is try and bring leaders around the table conversation, because Rod and I separately have been building our businesses. It's longer than mine, but and working in the sector and dealing, for lack of a better description, for one-off organizations, meaning one has 3 employees and one has 100 and one has 500. And certainly we do our best for all of those organizations and believe our service models are great to add value. But, what if we could bring 5,000 or 10,000 or ultimately the whole sector, be it here in Nova Scotia or throughout the Maritimes, at the very least to say, let's take that conversation to the insurance carrier. So Rod and I aren't an insurance company. We are, representatives of them. And really our mission is to say, how can we get this conversation together, get as much information as we can to basically vouch for the sector and do all of the, and this isn't, do all of the hard work. This is going to be a bit of a process for us to put this together, certainly to do, but we need to know that there's interest in the sector to work with us to happen. So we want to advocate on behalf of the sector to the insurance. Listen, this is, to the best of our knowledge, no one in Atlantic Canada has done this, or maybe they tried and it didn't quite work out because it doesn't exist now, and bring these conversations to the insurance carriers. So, with Rod's years of experience and our relationships with them, we are fortunate enough to literally know the key decision makers in insurance companies. Okay, what do you want to do? And some have literally come back to us and said, okay, if what you're saying is true, not of interest, then you can basically just everyone around the table, employees and all your key stakeholders, is you can create a tailored
But it's not going to be any better, or it probably won't be better.
Who's that?
Working together to basically, so you still have flexibility, you still have the ability to control kind of what you see as what's important to you. However, instead of just taking an organization of 100 or 5, 10 employees to an insurance carrier, we have ultimate volumes at this point. And that's really, I think, where we need to get. But, the steps included are opening the discussion like we're doing today again, gathering information of the individual organizations, what can we do, and then, advocating on your behalf of the whole sector to the insurance carriers to bring something that's tailored. This could ultimately look like that association on its own, a bunch of, sort of branch organizations under that umbrella. Leave the technical side up to us. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So, hopefully you can tell by my enthusiasm, we're really excited about this and believe it's something together. But, it's a bit of work, and then most of that will be on our shoulders, gathering the information from individuals. Right.
So maybe I get too far in the weeds too quickly.
No, go for it.
Conversation. So if you have a benefit plan, for example, that says that your life insurance is 2 times, would you envision this plan that you have of being able to accommodate 2 times salary, 3 times salary, half times salary, or would it be if you had a master plan, all 2 times salary across the sector?
You can tailor it to, again, the volume part of it. Yeah, volume part with sure having a volume of premium dollars going into that insurance carrier. So whether you have 2 times, you have 8% pay on your 20% copay on your health, and you might have 100, or you might have a dispensing fee. Everybody in here that has a benefit plan or wants a benefit plan can design it to be what they want.
Set on divisions.
Yeah, so it's silos within that insurance carrier. There was a time, not that many years ago, probably 20 years ago, but if we were sitting in a room trying to do that today, that's what we would have to do. So everybody here would have to say, take 1 time salary, I'm willing to take 80%, I'm willing to take this for LTD and this for dental. And if you didn't want to take that, then you couldn't be part of this. So those things change. That is the same. Not everybody wants the same, but let's bring them together under that association. it's volume for the insurance. It's so they're willing to work with us to do what we need to do.
So you can tailor it.
Yeah, we can tailor it, and again, even on pensions, so, it's volume on the pension, like whether it's group RS, individual RSPs, but they're still related to the group RS. So your management, so fees are going to really.
Mm-hmm. And I think further, Nicola and I were just having a quick chat that, you know, it can be, you know, it could be set up that it allows every organization to fully pay our app, or set up flex. So that's another option that makes it maybe a little easier to make those decisions, because sometimes carte blanche is like, where do I start? Obviously, that's where we come in to help you with that, you know, but there could be the options in which it's, you know, you might be able to pick some modules. It's kind of like need. So there, it might be a combination of that. It could, or it could be two separate. So, you know, by raise of hands or just comments, Taylor, or, you know, kind of, this is what you can pick, and then the employees can kind of, you know, pick and choose to certain jobs.
This that you start counseling is that it has been too expensive given the wages. So can the employee, our funding comes from government, it's been stagnant. Just it's a catch to. I have employees who do want health benefits and pensions and all that good stuff, who can't afford it because of the wages that they receive as a result of the funding formula we have. And my board is not prepared to go out and do cake sales. This is a serious business that we're into. We need to have, and we're developing a serious financial strategy. My notes to myself are saying that an organization can have an organizational plan to go forward under the big umbrella of the thousands of people who might be connected, that we customize that according to what we can afford, or have whatever our needs are.
I just said that because there are restrictions on a lot of the funds within the sector, that it like plan, because people are probably going to have to change decisions almost annually about how they are engaging in the plan.
You only get volumes of your, you know, if you're a 10 life group, there's sample group, there's restrictions on you know, or without providing evidence. The insurance company can say, you know, the volume of this association is 5, not 5. So that's what they base their pricing on, you know, and the flexibility of.
They're not employers in Nova Scotia. So we employ, that report that came out just in March, 34 to 37,000 people. So we are now at 13% of the GDP in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Significant workforce and labor force that has not worked together sector-wide issues like, so we have individual, we have funding resources going on our own and trying to grow. It's a lot of organizations, and so sector volume is large enough to interest somebody to work with us and be a bit flexible with us if we can get the sector to. So we know that about 40% of the sector does have. So that's probably the place to start. Those are the ones that have resources. Thinking about how we come to, how they might collectively want to come together to benefit the others in the sector. So if it's them, chances are their fees will come down and low. So it's a bit of a, you know, return on investment move, but it's also let's act and support each other. Breaks the value, I think, sector-wide.
It's got to
So
be a big brother, big sister looking after little brother.
kind of, but it benefits
Yeah.
everybody.
Everybody benefits from it at the end.
Yeah, so I think one of the first steps we'll be doing is reaching out to those that have benefits now. So hosting a conversation like this to try and determine what this is, exploring the possibility of benefits, and also exploring the possibility of doing this as a sector.
And I think, you know, it's interesting. That's part I find up some other, the whole other side, and what I pride myself and my organization on, and I know Rod and Nicola do, is service. I've dealt with the sector for so long, and I've long enough to see that, you know, even for those programs or organizations that do have a plan, you know, oftentimes the conversation is only price, but, you know, my question, what is value? What are you getting? What service or ancillary benefits receive? So, you know, where we vision this program or what can be offered is, you know, we can talk pensions, we can talk dental. Some mid-sized organizations. Do you have access to HR? Do you have access to legal counsel? Do you have access to financial planning? Like, what else can you give your employees that happen for you? You know, what if your plan offered on a, you know, call it an annual basis, a session for someone to come in and present and educate your employees on why it's important to save. Because most employees just understand that, you know, when we need to retire once or twice, that, you know, that's an issue, right? And you know, part of what I would like to do with this type of program is not just say best dollar, absolute best value, you know, and not you know, your organization and the sector as a whole would just be an insurance company, but we know you, and our team will develop to service the needs, come in, just, you know, really provide service and value. That's what I pride myself on, and that's what I want this to look like.
And I'll speak to that. HR management staff. So the ability for our organizations to manage things like employee support programs and stuff. So this counts. We don't have a designated HR person in our organization. We have, but we just started health, and it's a spend wellness account, and we wanted to find a plan that could offer a level of support to organizations that typical insurers don't offer. And so it is one of the reasons we've continued to work with Nick, because he's been great with us as an organization, very responsive, and that's what we want. We be able to. We were introduced to the national plan. It didn't have that. And in Nova Scotia, it needs to have that. From our perspective, there needs to be something that's relevant to the level of capacity that's in the sector, which is 13% if you look at HR management. So,
yeah,
you know, Nick's saying the service, it's, you know, it's a really strong, what we want to negotiate, I think, as a sector, if we're negotiating on plans. It's not just fees. It's like, what's the level of service? How available and accessible are you going to be to our employees when they don't have an HR manager to go to?
And that is something else that is really driven by volume. Of insurance brokers across Canada, and they've brokered a deal with the name of the HR firm right now. But if you went into it as an individual to buy it, the member can go in and buy it annually. So difference in that. So, you know, it's only a small chart, 200 templates in it, everything from higher, a lot of value, and it's all So that, the volume, get that's.
Yeah. And Rod and I have sit and pondered and said, if we were in your shoes, what would we like? And I'd love to hear more feedback on that. HR is one, call it a one-click or phone call, quick question that you might not want to pay a consultant for, or it's covered under your plan. The other is fundraising. There's some really neat programs in Nova Scotia. There's a neat startup that helps with that I've been in contact with to see how they can assist organizations with that and make it more effective and efficient. One big area around benefits that's coming to, light and slowly moving to the East Coast is telemedicine. So, it takes me as an employee, I have a co-holder, my wife, drag the kids in there, all this sort of stuff, where really what is happening right now, you call up the doctor, tell them something, and it can even go to get a bill sent to the pharmacy, they mail it to you the next day. So this exists, right? And all of these things decrease costs of the program. So not only are we talking volume, but we're talking how can we make this program introducing these things is I have a lot of nonprofits that website, and we've tried our best. Like now, prettiest thing, and want to get our message out there. How this team up our folks who do that at a very reasonable cost, cut their rates for the nonprofit sector. So we're half thinking, in addition to the benefits, what if we can have a portal, a reference, where this being part of this program, you have access to experts that in areas of Halifax, Cape Breton and Ganesh, down Yarmouth, Scotia, place have resources available to you. When you have an issue, you don't even have to think about it. You know where to go, and you can have a trusted partner that you can, basically reach out to. Maybe that's crazy. I don't know. Would that be of interest?
You mean in terms of benefits and pensions, having that access?
Yeah, being part of this program, you can have access to all of these extra services that we have basically put together for the sector. That could be in conjunction with the sector council, or how can we make it work? So, I don't know.
Useful, because I expect some people came today wanting to know maybe they could do right now, sort of working on big side of that. It's what products
Why do you ask that?
Well, that's the majority of our staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit more common as it becomes a little bit more known how large and other
And sometimes
or
you just
sports.
you're not able to make those decisions, right?
That's it. Yeah, sometimes these things have to be negotiated, and such different organizations, how they're governed and
Yeah.
stuff
When your
like that.
collective agreements are up and ready for negotiation.
Yeah. So I don't know, is there an interest at this table in hearing about sort of those products that aren't beneficial or benefit plans? For example, our rates change, your budget changes, if our number of employees change, they go part-time to full-time, very flexible. Nick and I have talked about what pension things are. I want you to go back now while we work on the bigger. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Nick, you could describe some of those things.
Yeah, sure. So, well, we can use the sector council for example. So, staff budget, which is a common theme. What can we do? We can look at a traditional plan, which you may all be familiar with. You can also look at, a health spending account. And a health spending account is basically a tax efficient way for an organization. It's as simple as saying, I want to give $1,500 a year to an employee to allow them to spend on their health expenses. The health expenses are outlined on the Canada Revenue Agency's website, so it's pretty simple to know what those are. But that's, you know, dental, drugs, vision, glasses, massage, physio, those sorts of things. You set an account up, like they are so very organization perspective. Again, so $1,500 5 weeks plus an administration fee, and that administration fee allows the insurance carrier to process all claims. So if you have one of these and proceed on desk saying money for this, you don't have to touch that. You don't need to hire anyone to look after that. Employees go in, get a massage, submit their claim typically online. The money's in their account in the next few days, and that's kind of it. So a lot of larger organizations will sometimes have these as an add-on to a traditional plan, or if you don't have the funds or don't want to go sort of on the call it the roller coaster of wondering what your rates are going to be, you can do a health spending account where absolutely to the dollar you know exactly what the max amount every year is you're going to spend as an organization on benefits, and it doesn't increase in cost. It's up to you. There's a conversation typically December and more or less next year, and that's it. And then your employees can again go ahead and see what they're covered for, submit their claims with their phone or online, and that's pretty simple. Like it's the most, I think, the most straightforward way to get a plan started if you don't have anything and you have a limited budget and want to give something versus nothing.
Is there a copay on the health spending accounts? No, not yet.
Just a
What was that quickly?
12% is what we
Yeah,
pay.
it depends. You could say, yeah, it really depends on size, volume. I mean, again, we talk on a larger scale. The bigger it gets, the smaller the fee.
Yeah, and those amounts could be set. It says $1,500, could be $500,
Right.
Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah.
So
I
it
think
really
we're
depends on your
moving in that
organization.
direction.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't gone there yet, but every year upon renewal,
Right.
it's something that we ponder.
Yeah.
I think what you're seeing with those such as therapy, massage, and so on, people are going to start to pull that out of their traditional plans and say, here's an account for $2,000. If you need glasses and they're $1,000, well, you can use $1,000 of that account. If you need $2,000 of physiotherapy because you were injured or whatever, then you can spend it all on physiotherapy. But as an employer, that's what my cost is for that year, every year and every year and every year. So, you as an organization are fortunate because you can self-insure because you have a large volume, so you can self-insure your drug plans and so on, and you have the stop-loss agreements and so on. So, smaller, more and more all the time.
I don't know about just one individual employees. Is one of them riskier? Like if they understand, for example, that what they have dental and health, extended health plans, right? And in our plan, we know that it's $5 when you pick up a prescription. But what they don't know, right, when you're trying to make those kind of decisions, is what I don't know is what the cost of the prescription was, right? That it's easy to ask if a regular person goes to the dentist, once a year, check, see the whole bill. Glasses don't. They go to the dentist once a year, but maybe they go, oh, that's fantastic. I might spend it on, the extra things. Like if massage therapy or acupuncture helps you for varying things, but how does it measure in with the or how do you work in hospital rooms?
Yeah.
And that I'm just wondering how those conversations happen and whether you go, where does the risk factor for a person who goes, let's presume everything's fine. So $1,500 or $750 or something for the year works fine and I can spend it on my glasses. But is there a risk if you go, now I'm injured, now I've ended up in the hospital, now I need my physiotherapy and I've already used it up because I bought my glasses and I thought everything would be fine.
Right. I think Yeah.
There's always that risk, but I'm
There's
just
always that risk,
wondering,
yeah.
I'm just wondering in a
So with
different.
the health spend account, how it works for us
Yeah.
is so our, our full-time employees, that health split in two, half of it's a health wellness. So it's for things that keep them well. And the other half is more like your traditional drugs and stuff like that. They use that how they want. So my example, I just spent classes and I've been physiotherapy for the last couple of months on the shoulder. So that's how I will use it when it's done. If I break my leg in 3 months' time, I've spent my health spend account. So it's not the full month, absolutely, but it's what that but be able to or have $10,000 that we could do something, and so we could do that. We could budget for it. We knew that that's how much it could cost us. That wasn't going to change. Just carry that next year. For us, that works given our current resources, but it's definitely got limitations. It's not a full health plan. It's sort of what you can do.
Yeah, I was
with what
just
you
wondering
have
how to
now.
have those conversations
Yeah.
when you go,
Yeah.
I don't have enough information. If somebody says, okay, what would be the result of not doing a drug copay or not doing,
Yeah.
right? If it's a drug copay and I understand I'm paying 10% or 20%, then I can work backwards and figure out what the cost
Sure.
of that
Exactly.
prescription was. But if I don't know, then it's hard to have a conversation down at our group about what would happen if you chose to switch it, because they'd be like, what are my costs?
A few things that I'll take it back to what Arlene just said, that she spent $450 on her glasses. I have an egg-shaped eye, so these are $800. But there's people out there that would not be able to spend the $600. They have so physio or massage. It's again, if you have a traditional plan, it's probably $500. So whatever combined back overall. So it has its good points and it has its drawbacks, but it's for things like vision care and those things, it's that's why I say it's what we're seeking more that health spend with their smaller groups. If you have a traditional plan now and taking the drugs out of it could be a little risky. It's because you could have a drug.
You can have one employee or two employees that will next year renegotiate. As you have, a family, say a wife and her husband or 4 children are on the plan, and they're all have major dental work and things like that, or major prescriptions, and so therefore the traditional plan
there becomes, say if you're 10 or less employees, for example, you have a traditional plan, one person gets sick and puts a $60,000 claim through, although there's some, but it's still going to be pretty significant. So, the issue I've run into is some of those organizations are now on the fence going, do we even keep benefits, right? So there's a bit of a balance to say, we want to offer something. If you have risk saying you're not going to be protected for catastrophic events, like a high cost medication, but you also say, how do I protect the integrity of the whole plan for everyone? Because otherwise our benefits go stretch. So there's definitely that dilemma, and it's happening right now, and it's been, Nicola might be able to tie onto that. She's the numbers specialist, we'll call it, but maybe you have something to add to that. Or not, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult when you have the smaller groups and you do have those one-off claims. And how do you control those claims? And you can't control them. Especially if you already have a plan in place, it's going to be hard to take something away and go and look at something else. But you have to look at everything and look at the overall picture. Where if you don't have a plan right now, it's easier to design something because they had nothing in the very beginning. So, and I think that, it's coming together. We could look at, there's so many options and so many different things that we can design and plan. Either we all do it together as one, or we have to, keep them, everybody has their own individual things. And I think, but I think, like we keep saying, it's the volumes and working with the common, start here and then maybe build it to what we want to get it to, I think. Probably on the group benefit side. Pensions, we can bring them together. That's the easier one.
Right.
But the group benefits is going to be more conversation with each and every individual person.
Yeah, so just as an example, we could keep our drug plan, but we might convert the extended some others to a spending account.
Yeah.
That's absolutely, because the drugs are those are the most expensive. So.
And so I in my organization, I pay half and the employer pays half.
Which is traditional.
Which is traditional.
Yeah.
If it was a health spending account, is that the same thing? And so it's the employer, or is that?
I've seen it. We've had someone that
Yeah.
we know has had an employee contribute to it,
Yeah.
and the employer, like they say, okay, the employer's going to put $100 towards, and we'll put $100 towards.
Right.
So they can do that. But again, your
It's
organization
flexible.
is flexible.
Right.
The health spending account is not a requirement for it. So,
It sounds like you would get a better bang for your buck. I totally not using half of what I could if I went out there and kind of tried to make all those claims.
yeah.
But it's kind of hard to.
You will, and what you'll see, what I've seen, I think the long-term gain of controlling costs on a plan, if you can pull, some will even go as far, so if we could do paramedical, vision, and dental sometimes, you take that out, health spending account for that. It gives the individual more flexibility. There's usually, in a small organization, 1 or 2 people who use physio, chiro, massage, and everything to the max, and they're gonna immediately go, oh, well, I don't have as much as I used to because they kind of used everything, but to create stability in your program long-term, if you can pull those out and call it self-insure, use the health spending account, your rates will be far more stable. Because it's not real insurance. It's not that profit. I get $500 massage. That's like money in, money out. That's what it's
not
true
really
insurance.
risk.
Right.
No,
That's
no,
exactly
yes,
it.
yes,
We're protecting against risk in insurance, and that's drugs, life insurance, and long-term disability, which we can't predict. They may happen, and if they do, they're going to be significant. But if I need $500 worth of massage, it's not going to bank. That's kind of
Those strategies will work in any organization, like your guys' organization. If you wanted to do that, there would be cost savings for you.
Our Newfoundland office is one short-term disability. So our advisor customized the program to allow short-term disability for Newfoundland. The rest of the provinces didn't want short-term disability.
Yep.
So in Newfoundland, they don't pay the EI because they
Right.
have a reduction in the EI benefit because of the short-term.
Yep.
But the rest of us didn't want the short-term, so there is some customization.
Yep. Yeah, you can do that.
Just a question, is your age, do you have a maximum age, I would suspect?
For
Then we're running into that now. We have workers that are that have turned 70
yeah,
within, and the age 70.
yeah,
And we've done some studies and we've done some analysis to determine if we can find other carriers. And I think Manulife offers a Follow Me program.
Yep.
And Blue Cross may offer a similar type of program, but we're not to cover that. We've looked at cost and it's so age 70, they're doing some customized work with their employer in terms of health spend.
In Nova Scotia, you have the seniors program.
Yes.
So you can create a classification of employees where they have and then you're taking that because generally that's where drug claims are come from, but they have the same benefits that. And we can do termination ages at 85, some of them is a retirement. So if you do have those employees beyond age 70, they still have a basic plan of drugs that go in. So there's lots that you can design with health chart, ideas and stuff.
And that's an essential consideration in our sector because
It is.
people aging in place sort of thing is pretty common. We're seeing retirements not happen. Well, I say it myself, I'm on the retirement age track. Right? Not
There's no free to 55 anymore.
Not in our sector, that freedom 55 is a joke, I think, usually.
Freedom of death is how we look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another interesting component that was added on our plan a few years ago is it's called the Employee Assistance Program. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not very expensive, but it provides a huge benefit to some employees.
Yeah.
We use that a lot.
So,
Yeah.
we're familiar with what
Every
you do.
client.
So yours is through Blue Cross?
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're quite familiar with that program, and it's probably it's you know, if you had somebody that was fortunate enough to be able to retire, you know, that you can phone in and get some financial planning expertise from them if they needed to. There's, just it would take you know, a year and do nothing but look at it. There's so much stuff in it to use, and we encourage it. We really encourage people to do it because it's it will have a positive effect on your health accounts, on your drugs, and you know, and on your long-term disability, and so on and so forth. So you know, for the cost that's there, it certainly will help the rest of your plan out. So.
And promoting that is of utmost importance. I wrote an article a few years ago in one of the benefits magazines about the importance of an employee and family assistance program and what it can do. Like, and oftentimes I'll speak to employers who know they have them, and there's no posters on the wall, there's no email communication. The employees don't even know, like, I'm having legal troubles, you know, call it, it can be any troubles really, you can call them for anything.
Yeah.
And they don't even understand that it's just a phone call away. I don't have to speak to my CEO if it's a smaller organization or my manager and try and disclose things that I don't want to go to a number here. And the neat thing is that it extends to families. So children, mom and dad are, you know, there's relationships there that they might not want to share information with them, or they're having troubles at home. So it's good for kids to know that they have access to that too.
We're just extending it to our volunteer board members.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Make it available to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That program is good set up. It's bi-monthly newsletter that comes out from the plan.
Yeah.
If you provided everybody's email address to the program, they would get that email every 2 months. So you know, there's management stuff that's in it as well. So the more you can promote it, the more it's going to get used, and the more benefits you're going to see from it. So.
Yeah, and we would want to go with a provider and to work with people that would do that.
Yeah.
You know, acknowledging that we don't necessarily have communications officers as well as HR managers within our organization.
So that plan that's within their Blue Cross program is a standalone company that operates it. So you, again, as an association, would be able to get the pricing that's probably even better than what you're getting now. You know, and they would do all that kind of behind the scenes work for you. So it's
Can you speak a little bit to retirement options that would be available right now when you can't afford pension plans for your employees?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we can talk more on pension, but I think really for an organization, the most, call it, risk-free option for an organization would be a group RRSP and tax-free savings account. It's a retirement vehicle for employees. You structure it. I put in $1, you put in $1. They're managed by the largest insurance companies in Canada, who basically give you, so the easiest example is if your employees are saving and they're at Scotiabank or BMO or one of the big five, they're paying too much in fees. You could introduce a group savings program right now and probably shave half a point to a point off of their investment management fee, which is embedded in what they're paying for their savings platform. And right away, you're giving them more money in their pocket if they can understand. That comes down to the communication piece. If we can communicate that to them, at most of the groups I set up, the employees pull their money from the bank and put it in here. They may have $50,000, $100,000, $10, whatever it may be. It's cheaper for them. They have access to wonderful fund managers and great funds that have good returns. They can see their stuff and know where it is. And as an organization, you know that your employees are saving. They have access to tools that basically online, they can easily create a quick snapshot or financial plan for themselves. So, okay, I'm X age, retired in years. This is how much I have. This is how much I'm putting in. This is what the government will give me. You can do it or not. And this is where you're off. So that could cost you, you know, whatever, have a financial planner to sit down and do that for you. It can be time and money. So you can offer this to your employees very simply. They're so easy to set up for a you know, smaller organization or even a larger organization. But our RSP, registered tax-free savings account, is the most, you know, effective and efficient way to do something right now before we kind of get something bigger, you know, going on.
And those stay with the tax-free savings accounts. Those stay with the employee. They might lose what the employer was contributing to that, but they
actually wouldn't.
Well, no, I mean they continue. They
Yes,
they
right,
have what's
exactly.
been
That's
contributed
it,
to
right.
date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned transient. So if
Yeah.
I work at the sector council and then move over here or whatever, I can shift that over to the plan there, back financial advisor, or back to the bank if I need to. So they're you know, they can move with the employee. Nice thing is we set up. You know, it could be if you're a fraction pension, work for a year, you don't get anything, but after year 1%, and a 2% match thereafter. So you can design it however you want. It's totally, you know, you're able to tailor that just as you would, you know, the spending or the health and dental programs that we've discussed. So
And it can be a set contribution instead of percentage. Couldn't it? Could you say I'm going to contribute as an employee $50? From a budget perspective, you've got set and restricted budgets. It's easy to do that. There's no fluctuation in it.
absolutely, yeah, that's it.
That could be a cheaper option too, if you don't have a group benefits plan for health and dental, is to put in like the RSP plans or something like that. Because you might have the health problems now, but when you're older, if you haven't started saving, and you want your dollars to go somewhere, where do you want it? People are realizing 10 years problem right across Canada.
I would just want to make comment that on the health spend account sort of thing, sometimes that's an advantage, especially when you have a spouse, because a lot of the plans, you're allowed a spouse on your plan, so you could get the health benefit, the health saving spend, and then you still have this side of the spouse's, you know, benefit package also.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will make mention too, I know we've discussed that, you know, a little higher sector, but for us, I'm in the millennial crowd. We like flexibility. And if you have employees in that, you know, we don't want to be told kind of what to do or where to spend our dollars, and flexibility is very important. So if you do have that, you know, that's eventually replace the generations. As that happens in the workforce, flexibility is of utmost importance. That's from all the surveys I've run and asked. So it's something to keep in mind.
One of the things that attracted me to the health spend account and the way that we're contributing to it as employers, that we just, you know, I can go out, buy a pair of glasses, deal with there's nothing appears on my paycheck that has any idea of that shows anything about how I've spent my health money or that I've spent any health legislation. Like, there are some things that we were thinking about through that lens, and that's one of the things I like about that is your part clue, which is relevant information for everybody, but it is for a lot of people in the sector. You know, that's something that added layer of privacy may not be a big consideration when you're thinking about how you're deciding as an employer to buy your benefit plans, but it is something that we need to be thinking about.
That money, can it be used for absolutely anything at all? Buy a barbecue?
No, it has to be health
Like when
related.
you say that there's no receipts or
No.
Oh.
Yeah, CRA.
Okay,
Medical
okay.
expenses, it should be under the healthcare and under the dental and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
It has to be, yeah.
You could probably get-
But our wellness
Thinking
portion
if
can
I
go
have to
towards,
spend any of it, I'm not
Is there a
gonna be
map
good part.
yeah.
for history of tax?
Yeah, so our wellness package allows me to pay for the hockey registration fees for my son,
Ski rentals or lift tickets,
sneakers, wellness,
Yeah.
right? So that's the wellness part of it.
Right. No, it's all, it's very interesting. If we just.
One of the things that I've seen health spending accounts. If you set one up and you say you have $1,000 in that particular year. So let's say you have a healthy year and you spend sets up, but then transfer stuff into their group RSP, so they get the benefit of it there. Or if it was they spent 500, if there's 500 left, you can leave it there, or you can leave it in the health spending. If you roll it over 2 years, so in the second year, if they didn't spend it, they would actually have $2,000 of spendable.
And I think as an employer, you decide the rollover. I can't remember now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
So you can decide if you don't know year to year what you're.
That's actually a good, sorry,
Yeah.
it's a good point, because
That's
if,
right.
if someone does leave, because I'm thinking, like, we're 3 employees right now in our spot.
Prorate from the date someone was hired. So if I started today and got $1,000, claimed it left tomorrow, then you're kind of out and it didn't really serve a purpose. So there are some, parameters that you can set on the plan's design to ensure that your dollars are protected.
But if you know you have a service agreement that's 3 years, you could set your rollover for 3 years. You'd be able to budget that for the 3-year period. You don't maybe in a year or you lose it because the organization can't secure those funds. So it's got that flexibility that's a little bit more relevant to how we're funded.
Yeah. No, they are.
They are.
They extend to the whole family. Yeah. The employee can keep it for themselves, but technically everyone can use it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a great big health plan, but our budget allows this for right now, and it's something that's a lot of flexibility.
The interest, we talk about volumes again and whatever like really an ASO compared to an ASO is service and administration fee. So if you can knock a couple points off your admin fee, I wouldn't say that, I hate the cliche no brainer, but you would move it, right? If you're going to give me the same plan, same service, and save me 2 points.
We're spending $1 million.
Right.
That's $20 grand.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, 1% doesn't sound like very much, but it makes
It does on volume.
just every cent, really. If you can save $1,000, that's
Absolutely.
got somewhere else to go.
Within the insurance industry, is it just no longer a thing that your pension, that there are survivors where you are?
With defined benefit pension plans or defined contribution, it depends on how it's structured, but you still have survivor benefits on a pension.
Is it just too extraordinarily expensive? Is that is it sort of standard in
most pension plans, most traditional pension plans would have a survivor benefit that would go to the spouse. It might be as a reduced amount, but it would still go to the spouse.
But that depends how it's set up.
That's the pension plan. So again, it goes back to the individual structure of the pension plan. So, you may have a situation where you just go in and it's going to pay out to somebody for 10 years, whether it's me or my spouse. But if I die in the 11th year, my spouse is not getting anything.
and is it also standard that I've dealt with very just that's a shift of then how you manage things from my mom, but I'm just trying to figure out whether it was just because they were grandfathered in these like great systems in a university institution, with large numbers that, at a time for my dad. So his health benefits plan did not stop after retirement. on for, you know, they've gone on for another 30 years
Yeah.
past retirement. My mother is still alive,
Yeah.
right? So when my mother goes to the dentist at 95, she is still covered. So, does that happen anymore?
It would be very rare.
Yeah. Yes, not as frequent.
Yeah, like, yeah, it would be
That's
very
a great
rare.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
no,
Yeah,
we knew it was a great
We all want
plan.
that
We'll see if
plan.
we
Yeah,
can
no,
get that one.
and it makes you go,
You spend how much on
Yeah.
it?
yeah.
Yeah. And pensions used to be something that would keep employees loyal, right? People wouldn't want to leave when they were 10 years out from retirement because it meant losing pension. We don't have that tool to staff in our
Yeah.
sector. And so it contributes to that turnover. When you don't have those things that keep loyalty because there's some benefit to it, right? So, I mean, for us, it's our passion for our missions and our cause that are keeping us in the sector organizations. But from a retention and attraction standpoint, as a sector trying to attract talent to the sector, pensions is an issue.
Yeah. It is. And I think even outside of the sector, if you just look at the labor force in general, the new generation is moving jobs every few years. Like that's just what it is. I call the gig economy or whatever that might be. That's kind of what's happening. So planning for that, I really think so on ground staff and PR. Got go nugget there. You've got a plan. You've got to make sure you're know it free that to them. They're valued. It goes away a bit, and others that know they have it, and just that's a key piece to attracting and retaining.
If you offer and your benefit to put that right in your job at less percent. So we are at non-statutory holidays plus cultural holidays negotiation and spending. Now only able to do that, so it's it's important.
Some employers I've seen will work on like a summary sheet on an annual basis of that's benefits and your 40,000 salary, but
So one of the things that we can commit to as a sector council, a couple of years ago we did this benefits. We just sent a letter out saying that if you had an interest, right now our sector 1,000 organizations. So I think what we can do is we can draft some kind of a letter, because I think from today's conversation, we're getting an organization absolutely an interest in us continuing to pursue the issue of pension benefits from a sector and trying to provide what's out there now for people some more information. So we can work with all of you on doing another sort of letter like that out that includes conversation about pension. And we'll think how we start to collect numbers on move this forward and start actually maybe getting to the point where we can start negotiating some sector-wide.
Yeah. You can start conversations with individuals.
Start a collection
See where you
of
want to start. So,
yeah.
I think we've got contact information for most everybody that was here, so we can reach out to you over the next.
And we had 36 people registered, and a lot of people, I think, are there's people online, but a lot of people are representing larger associations and networks, right? So I feel like we've got quite a critical volume already engaged in this conversation. So my recommendation is let's start trying to see what we do in the sector.
I have other agencies that look like ours that
And we know the small organizations have been engaged in conversations about this stuff because they have an HR person who's dedicated to go out
and even some of the larger ones, it's even larger. It's interesting in that role. Call it, if it's CFO or HR manager, everyone would know here. I'll withdraw a name, but they don't have. I invited them to this conversation. We that they had mentioned is they have a,
Non-existent.
right, they have a very large plan, and I've seen it as an advisor. I'm like, you have issues, we need to fix this, and but we don't have anyone to do it, right? And that's the struggle from my standpoint and ours to get dialogue going. So I am, and I know we collectively are very grateful for this conversation, because hopefully our passion comes across that it's not junk, it's, you know, it's about and getting that moving forward.
We consider it's all answer to forward,
Right.
and we all and they all answer toward the funder.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
that's
kind of restricted. So we always get, here's your budget,
yeah.
and we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're, you know,
It is, and that's a struggle. I ran into that a few weeks ago. A client decided to move, and it was a relationship, but they were with or to do. And oftentimes, with all due respect to boards, they're not really on benefits, moving for the dollar, but don't understand the long-term play. And as quality advisors, our goal is to educate. So maybe CEO and CFO understand what's going on and why it's advantageous to stay.
Sorry,
we move.
Basil, there's nothing to repeat.
I guess we know everything.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, that's eliminates that cycle of having to move. You know, the board suggests you move, save percent, and 2 years later is, you know, that's we're trying to eliminate that, and you know, as best we can with education. Getting this message to the board, I think, so ask would be, you know, let them know, bring in on these numbers. I don't know. Sometimes people say no way, and others, but you know, as you say, you answer the board. Just kind of the way it is.
Speak a little bit to that. We've been meeting state, so government departments, foundations, municipalities, the common investors into the stake or into the sector, the common, you know, funders and donors and things like that, and say best. There supports that it's great to invest in mission, but to deliver that mission, we need people and keep skills and our expertise. And so we've been, as a sector council, having this conversation with those common stakeholders, trying to advocate for them to unrestrict some funds or to invest specifically for things like this. At the same time, we've strengthened that piece in our board governance training to bring boards kind of to the awareness or to the awakening that they have a role not just to make sure organizations aren't, but to be planning for the sustainability and the scale of nature of sustainability of the organization. So we have nature plan and supporting the HR complements within their organizations, which does need to be about. Are you budgeting for pensions and benefits? Are you thinking about it as an organization and board, and you're right, board, come on, because passion, women's issues, but not necessarily HR managers or need our boards to start thinking. We have, so anybody who's got the opportunity, that message in front of a board, or we're trying to also support and encourage the sector. Start those conversations in your funding negotiations, right? We've been very afraid to sort of rock any boat because we're afraid of losing what we already have. And try to encourage, you know, enough of us are saying this, and enough of us are starting.
Related costs.
Just need to start operating as a sector.
Because we've to basically cover massage and that's the region. If Bishop received will donation you, and in our situation, that's considered. You have to report that as income. And in our situation, because we have 9 different agencies in the province, nobody can. So it's you cannot make $10,000 a year, and I make $10,030 because I've been. I mean, so we kind of creative there.
So I think we've kind of summarized. Is there any pressing question that anyone else that you might not have touched on, like answer right now. A good summary and, you know, I guess what we is that and ensure that everyone walks away with something, you know. So is there anything missing that we didn't touch on, or if we have something similar, to add to it? Okay.
So we've got some homework.
I think I'd like to say thank you for the invitation, because in nonprofit organizations, most of the time is someone who's been an expert in something else comes up and says, I think I want to help you out. This information is not something that will come, but you know, some are still like, so this is very, very informative. So appreciate that.
So there is an evaluation form going around. So this is about this session, but there is a question, is there anything else you'd like to tell us? We'd really appreciate it. Identify things about pensions benefits, but also anything else as a not-for-profit organization that you want to learn about or skill development needs. But as a sector council, we can respond to other issues as well. Thank you. Beyond this session, other things that would be helpful for us. Thank you.
Is there a list of the attendees that?
Yep.
Is that possible to make to
Yeah.
or email?
See if everybody's okay with that. It depends on everybody here.
Just let us know if you don't want your information shared. It's probably the easiest way. You have to opt out. Yeah, just like or you opt out.
I don't believe mine RSVP. I got the information.
Something for
Add
have at home.
Okay.
I'm just going to pass a sheet around because not everyone here registered to the event. So if you don't mind just listing your name, your information, and your contact info, then we can share this with everyone present.
Let's say in the future, when you register for our site, you're going to be met with some labor market information questions, because as a sector, we don't have a lot of information on ourselves. So we're going to start collecting number of full-time employees. It's people hits up that we're just trying to get a picture of what our economic